I hated the fact that I had to go to the therapist. If you want therapy to work, you can make therapy work, but it's not a magic pill. It definitely doesn't happen overnight. I tried just the medication route. That didn't work. I tried just the therapy route. That didn't work. I have to have a combination of both. One doesn't work out. For me, it doesn't work.
If you are the strongest person in your family and everybody depends on you, how dare you crack?
I was just an angry child, and I didn't touch therapy again until...
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 9
Yes.
of Therapists Unhinged. And today is a very special day. We have our second guest.
Yay.
Our guest's name is Alexa, and I'm going to have Robin tell you a little bit more about her. But her background is basically, I'm going to tell you, first of all, she's a veteran. So all the veterans listening and anybody who supports our military,
Yes.
that's why she is so important as well. But go ahead, Robin. Go ahead and introduce.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I had the pleasure of meeting, Miss Alexa a few years ago through Bella Mental Health. And I just knew right off the bat that when we said Therapists Unhinged, she had to be on here because unhinged, it is unhinged. But also probably one of my favorite people. And, I did tell her in the beginning, I felt a little bad because we always have gifts for our people, but, there was a mishap, but I do have a couple little things because I want her to feel more comfortable while she's here because, I do know her so well. And if you know anything, she's going to tell you.
And everybody knows
I always have
something in the beginning.
But she loves a good safari.
Oh my gosh.
And
Your friends are here.
And so we have to make sure that
You gotta put this
that
stuff in the camera.
she is with her.
Oh my God. No, you did not.
The llama drama love,
Oh,
and y'all will have to hear the story about this later. But there's a turtle might be in the spar list, and I will.
Oh my God. No,
So,
you did not.
Show the elephant. in
No,
the
this
camera.
is probably the most important one, and we'll talk about the safari.
Okay,
We'll
I
talk
can't
about-
wait to hear.
And so, as you can see, when I say that, honestly,
you.
I was telling, TJ and Nell, I said, y'all just have to meet this wonderful lady. She's got such a wonderful background. Her journey has been like nobody's. And I told her one time way back when we were working, I said, something about you told me, I said, I got to do this right. So I already knew I would, but she's just very, very special. And she's funny, and her background, like I said, and her journey to where she was to where she is now is just it's humbling to be around her.
Yes, I love this. And this is why we said in the very beginning of our first podcast that our clients teach us something too. It's not a one-way relationship. So it sounds like you definitely are one of those for Robin. And I love that. I don't know you that well, obviously, but just from knowing a little bit, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yes.
So,
And I'm just going to tell y'all, put your seatbelts on. That's all I got to say because, hey, Alexa, play me some 80s rock, girl.
Oh my God, of course.
Welcome.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys having me here. This is definitely going to be a crazy ride. Number one, me even coming into here and being open with you guys and putting information out there for individuals like me a few years ago. But, I can tell you a little bit about myself so everybody knows. A 52-year-old Puerto Rican woman. And I'm a veteran, was in the military for 8 years. I was a sergeant. I did communications. I got to jump out of helicopters and be a commanding console operator for 4 brigades at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So I was there for 5 years, and that's where I met my wife. Not at the time, but I love you, baby, wherever you are.
She's awesome, by the way.
And then my journey with the military had started, but there's a lot of different moving parts, obviously. And I was raised by very strict parents, very religious, strict parents. The great thing about my family was that when I turned 6, they decided to uproot and move from Puerto Rico to the United States. So I think that, and I think my mom till this day, I said, that's the best thing you could have done for me, because had we moved to New York, I probably wouldn't be alive right now, knowing the type of person that I am. Or had we stayed in Puerto Rico, things would have been a little bit different. So I think, but the journey is here. And not to say that the one that I have wasn't difficult, because it is still, it's a work in progress. But I would love to be able to talk about how I've gotten to this chair here.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the thing, because y'all see her. And this is, I think, one of the things that I know with Alexa, and, you know, she is such a humble spirit, and, you know, but she's such a badass, like complete badass. And I think, and it was funny, I was thinking about it because I was just like, gosh, you know, when I said, you know, I wanted to do it right. And one, I think just her and I, there was so much that she went through and that we worked through that resonated with me. But also I think I was a little terrified. I didn't want to kick my ass. So, you know, I think I was like, listen, you know, the chiclet is coming up with a cross inside of the head, you know. But no, I mean, she really is, like I said, she's kind of, you know, warming y'all up a little bit because, you know, she's very professional and very calm demeanor.
When she needs to be.
She's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to go into, I mean, we can talk about some of like the journey with mental health, because, you know, I know when we were talking about, we love to bring the diversity in. And I said, oh my gosh, I mean, she's got military, she's got culture, she got the LGBTQ, the faith, you know, everything. It's like, there's so many, like you said, different things and different moving parts. And it's like navigating through all of that to really figure out, you know, who you are in this world that we live in, and, you know, how to navigate it as a female, you know,
There's
Gen
a lot.
X.
There's a lot.
you know, and,
Yeah. So getting into mental health was tumultuous at best. And I didn't accept that for myself for a very, very long time. It's a cultural thing. And especially having older parents in our family or our generation, mental health wasn't a thing. Hey, you worked your problems out at home. You didn't take your shit outside. You know, you kept it inside the family, or you didn't speak about it at all. And so, anytime something would come up, you just bury it and bury it and bury it. And so, I thought I was like any other kid. I knew there were some differences in me. But, you know, as a child, you don't really know any better. There were some things that happened growing up that robbed my youth from the age of 3 to about the age of 12, and give or take a few years. But that did something to me in my adolescent years, where I wasn't thinking like a child. And so when I got to my teen years, I was a very angry child. I didn't have an outlet. And on top of that, I had much older siblings that were already out of the house. So I was like an only child with older parents, very strict guidelines. I knew there was something different about me, didn't know what it was. There was sexual abuse in there, not with my immediate family, but there was that underlying factor. So when I got around 14 or 15, my mom is a retired nurse. Her DON recommended that I go to therapy. And my mom fought that for the longest time. Well, go to church, do it that way. And somehow she changed her mind. I went to my very first therapist at 15. And me being the smart ass kid that I was like, I'm only going to let her know what I want her to know. And I was just an angry little girl. And I played with her and made her very upset, wasted the therapist's time. I was just an angry child, and that stopped. And I didn't touch therapy again until I got out of the military. So there was a huge gap.
What was that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in all of that, I have had my fair share of therapists. Or lack thereof, and no offense to anyone. It's like going to buy a car or home or going to the doctor that you want to go to. You have to find someone that you can connect with.
I love
Absolutely.
that. I'm glad you're sharing that, because a lot of people, they stop, after having one or two or experiences.
I also have about 30 years of experience. I didn't feel that way at first because I too used to think that. I used to think that taking medication was and it's done, it's fixed. No, of course it's not that, you know? And then I realized I tried just the medication route. That didn't work. I tried just the therapy route. That didn't work. Me, I have to have a combination of both. One doesn't work out for me. It doesn't work. But getting to that point was very difficult. I didn't accept the fact. I hated the fact that I had to go to the therapist. It wasn't until I was probably like 15 years ago where my wife said to me, I think you're depressed. And I was like, that's everybody. And she goes, no, I'm not kidding. I want to ask you these questions. And she proceeded to ask me like 15 or 20 questions. And I'm like, did I pass? She goes, yeah, unfortunately you did. And we need to go see someone. And that started my journey. Again, I went back into therapy and I was like, I'm supposed to tell you my problems. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't make me feel safe. You don't make me feel comfortable. This is because I have to tell you guys, when I was in Phoenix, my very first and last, nothing against psychiatrists, but he was a psychiatrist, very well-known psychiatrist in Phoenix. And so I went in a very prominent hospital in Phoenix. And, so I waited a couple months for this appointment and I went to see this doctor. And when I walked in, literally looked like you were stepping into South Africa, Bombay. I'm not kidding you, the wall, it was a mini library with, the ladder that slides.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the size of the room is the size.
Oh my gosh.
He had pictures of safaris and he loved to hear himself talk. And so he would say, okay, so how did your morning go? And I would say, well, he goes, I was driving over here and I was stuck at the light and I wanted just to cuss that guy out next to me. But, I started thinking about when I was in med school and they taught us to just make sure you zet. And I'm like, hello. And with that, his answer to everything, he was all about medication.
Trying medical model, psychiatry.
He was like, I want you to try these new medications that came out. And it just didn't work for me. That may work for someone else, but for me, it didn't work. So I gave up many, many times in that period. And I only accepted the fact that I needed therapy to get better when I started with Bella. And that's nothing against anyone else, but it's like shopping for someone who understands you, right? And you guys know it too. I'm sure as providers, if somebody wants to do the work or not.
Absolutely.
So I hated every moment of it. Every fucking moment of it. And she knows that. And I would come in therapy the next week. I'm like, I fucking hate you and love you. No homo. And she would say, you're welcome. And it would take months later to understand why. But I didn't give up because of you.
I'm gonna have a tear fest over here.
I told you.
I love it.
But and I think the thing is that the best thing with Alexa is that because again, we talk about all the time, especially in psychology class. I go, we're like basically the same age. We're the Gen Xers. We've been grown since we were 7, and I tell my students, I go, emotions weren't invented back then. There wasn't anything, and so when you've had all of this, when you know that you're different, but you don't know what, and then again, like I said, the cultural, the faith-based, the military stuff, everything,
trauma.
just the trauma, the age, the little girl all by herself with older, and then it's like the first time she goes, okay, yep. And she gets, a safari tour guide through, Wild Kingdom. And again, no, I don't know, but still, that's why the cute thing when I was like, okay, wait, I gotta go. I'm getting the stuffed animals out of my house, everything. And even to my mom, I go, she's going to call me an asshole. I'm just letting you know, she's going to be like, oh my God.
I fucking love it.
But
that's Robin.
And that's the thing. I always got to have a little something. But she is literally the epitome of you cannot beat somebody that refuses to give up. And when I say, as I got to know her and I was like, I have to do this right. And you see why, because
she deserves it.
That's
the thing.
hands down.
And that's the thing too. Like, I know for us as clinicians, it's like when we see somebody that has tried different approaches, has gone through the process and is like listening to advice. It's not that you're not doing the work. It's that you've been doing the work, but it's just not working for you. And you come to us, we're supposed to be like, okay, what didn't work for you? And I'm going to do something different, or we're going to find you a way to make sure it's different, because that is our job and that's what we should be doing. So to know that Robin did take that so seriously and she was able to connect with you that way, like that's what makes it all about. That's what it's all about. And, you know, I don't know how, I know you said your wife was a big part of why you kind of started to go back to it.
Yeah.
So do you think, like, if you didn't have that strong support system, you would have never done it?
Listen, without her, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's,
She saved my life. And so did you. You don't even know it. I was very broken. And I want people to hear that. Because I could have given up. I wanted to. And when I walked into these doors, I came in with a jacket and it was fucking hot outside. But I was protecting myself. And all she said was, "You're safe here." And that's what I needed to hear. Because I felt you meant it. So for those people out there that think that it can't work for you, it can. But I'm going to tell you right now, you got to fucking work. You got to fucking work for it. And like I told Dr. McCormick, is that I made a decision walking into Bella that my will to get better is stronger and bigger than the will to not fight. So I'm here, exposing myself in the raw to help people. And I want them to know that it works. But it's not easy. It isn't easy at all. So
I love that. Thank you so much. Because, you know, you remind, I think, everybody and anyone who's going to listen to this is that, like, the hardest things, you know, or the greatest things that come out of the hardest moments is what it's going to take the most work.
oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know a lot of your history. I only know like bits and pieces, but like just to know that, like, first of all, whatever trauma has happened, the military, we know that the military has, you know, a lot of things, you know, which we'll touch more about, but, and then mental health. I mean,
It's such a huge investment.
yeah, it is.
Well, and again, you know, I think the biggest thing with Alexa was that, and it was funny because, you know, I had just made the transition over. So I was still kind of, you know, coming from academics and coming back to full time and doing mental health. And, you know, she came in so early on in my journey here, you know, that I think we were both so on the same page as far as my will and my passion to hone this craft and bring everything in was greater than, okay, I'm nervous about switching. You know, and I loved, you know, Nella's concept and, you know, coming in, and it was just such a timing thing. I really do believe, because I wasn't quite as sassy as I am now, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm back in this. And so I was a little green too, because I'd been out of it for 10 years. And so I was very cautious. And it is funny because one of the strongest people I know, and I know I'm pretty strong, but it did teach me a big lesson too, is that, and I know I'm silly and will dance and everything else, but it has really, really opened my eyes too, is that you have to meet people where they are. You have to meet people where they are. There were so many times that she would just be like, we're not going there. And I said, yes, ma'am. And there was no question. There was no anything, you know, but even with that, and I think this is where I work with some of my younger clients, you know, at the college and stuff, and especially people that have been just so shut down, and even their personality, a little more introverted. You got to be okay with saying what you're ready to do. You have to be okay when saying, I don't feel safe going there yet. I cannot do that yet. even when the authority is your clinician, even when it's, and then even coming in here, and Alexa, no, I'm very, very protective of her because I do know. And that's why I was like, okay, it's this, whatever you want to do, I said, we're 3 feet of water here, and because again, it's, people don't understand. They're like, yeah, but you can get over that, or you can get over that. Well, good for you, but don't have an opinion where you don't have a responsibility. So easy for somebody on the outside, but and that's the thing, the work that we do, it's not just us, it's not just us. When people say, oh, you did this, I said, no, baby, I was just holding your hand. I just had a flashlight in the dark. I just showed you where the on button was. You have it.
Right.
And
you
that's
made the
thing.
commitment.
She already did. And so that was a done deal before she even walked
Absolutely.
in the door.
Absolutely.
And Alexa, how, knowing that you are a veteran and you you still work in the community with veterans, correct? So what do you say to people like that are in the position of like still hesitant to go to therapy and, get some help?
Kind of like touching base on what I said earlier. I was one of those people that was skeptical because I grew up thinking that mental health therapy and educating yourself is just taboo. You didn't talk about it. You don't tell your family your business to people you don't know. But it's nothing like that, right? It's whatever you make it. And if you want therapy to work, you can make therapy work. But it's not a magic pill. It doesn't happen. Definitely doesn't happen overnight. You have to be ready to accept what you're hearing, and be willing to change for the better. Sometimes you're going to hear things that are very difficult to swallow. I mean, it's not an easy journey by any means. That's not what therapy is there for. But there is light. If you do the work, if you really dig deep, I think that you can get some solstice out of it. You can get something out of it. But if you were a skeptic like me, I'm the person that I have to hear somebody tell me like, it fucking works. It works. Okay. It fucking works. You just have to, strap on your boots and work on it and be ready to accept the truth and be willing to make those changes.
And do you think that you had any support from the military, like your higher ranks and stuff, to go and get help like during that time? I know you said you were in for 8 years. Did they talk about it?
So my therapy didn't start until after I got out of the service. Right. But as far as while I was in to talk about, no, they're not in the time that I was in. Like, no, there's no talking about going to a therapist or mental health or any of that.
And I feel like that's still a thing now, from what I understand. And that's why I was asking you, is like, if you were kind of maybe more supported and more encouraged to go even during those 8 years, like they had that more, I don't know. I would hope that would make more of a difference for the community.
So I guess a better way of saying is that I'm sure that there were programs. I'm sure there's programs while I was there. But if you're asking me as a soldier, it's a bit of an oxymoron because you're asking me to go talk about my feelings when I'm supposed to be a fucking bad bitch. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And you just take it.
And it's funny because one of my younger clients that I'm working with, we're looking at the different branches, and, she's a female, and, she's always wanted to be a Marine. And so, but we had to we did some research, and we're even looking at like ADHD and, medication and protocols and academics and IEPs. And there's some branches now, and I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness. And there's still a disconnect. And again, but it comes down to, you're training to be a soldier. There is no emotions. You can't take it personally. You are in there to make sure that you don't die, and so it is like, even when I was hearing Nella, say that, and I know, you're with military, your family. And so, I mean, my family's a lot of ex-military too. but it is hard because it's just like what I see is the transition coming out, because again, it's like, even if you look at like attorneys, and sometimes people are like, oh, well, my attorney, such a this and this and that. I'm like, they can't be emotional. There's no emotions in court. It's a court of law. It's this. You don't want somebody in there that gets emotional, because then it starts to have you start to get like, oh, wait, and unfortunately, like, oh, that's a female with she would, no, you can't. That's enemy. So it's hard. It's hard because you want that, but definitely what I would say is, how can we transition? Like, because I know we've got the VA, we've got all these things, and I know we've got a lot more that's happening, I would believe. But that would be my biggest thing, is like, even like with the prisoners, I know because you do a lot of the forensics, is transitioning them back into civilian life. And, that's where I've seen, and I know, I mean, I've had quite a few, veterans that I've worked with and everything. That's been the struggle, of breaking down the,
this is why I ask you about like the different programs too, is because yes, you had to be a fucking bad bitch, right? Like that was your, you can't die.
Reagan, you're welcome. She said it.
You had to be strong. You had to just focus on, the eye on the prize, whatever it was that your mission was. My take on it about therapy is not just, okay, let's talk about your feelings and what happened to you about your past. My take on why I think it's so important, even while you're active duty and in the services, you become a better person, which then creates a transition into, okay, I'm not only a better person now because I understand myself. I understand why I react to certain things or why I'm hypersensitive to things, why I'm not sensitive to other things. So once you understand that and you're going through, let's say you're active duty in 4 years and you're jumping out of airplanes, yeah, you're not necessarily going to want to cry while you're about to jump out of an airplane. However, I was like,
she did. No, I didn't. No, she did.
But she did. I'm saying, like, if you were in therapy, I feel like therapy can also be that point of understanding why you even think the way you think, why you react the way you do. All that I think would make you an even better soldier at that time.
I agree.
So that's why I'm like, okay, yeah, it's not, I get the transition. Absolutely. I'm glad you obviously went to therapy after, but I feel like if they knew, the military would know that they can be better soldiers, even though they're in therapy. They don't have to just say, okay, I talk about my feelings and why you're sad. No, but it's more than that.
What makes you think they don't already know that?
Oh, that's a good point.
Here we go.
That's a great point. Yeah, I know. There's more to that.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that's very oniony, that's very layered. So just know that, yes, the programs are there, especially for veterans, right? So active Army, I can't speak on. I can go to the VA right now. They have multi-crisis lines. They have programs for, now they're there, not to say that you don't have to wait months and months and months. That's where the community should come in and say, let's get the overflow. So people outside of the VA, they're called a community. So anytime that the VA has an overflow, which is pretty much a lot all the time, especially with mental health, we go into the community. The problem with that is that we don't get to choose where we go. Then we go back to that problem of, I'm going to go to a therapist that I'm not comfortable with. And now I'm going to have to tell you not only about what's wrong with me, I have to tell you all of my trauma all over again. They don't want to read notes. They want to know from the beginning. And it's like, you understand? So yes, I agree with you very much so that the education should be embedded. I can't speak on the active part, at least for when I was in, because of my culture and because I was a soldier, the last thing I was going to do was go seek therapy. And I hate to say that, but because my mentality was, I am a fucking badass bitch, I'm not going to seek help. And things did happen while I was in the military, and I didn't at all. However, when I got out, the military knows about it now. So, but 25 years later, this is the byproduct. So you're right. It's a catch-22 double-edged sword thing going on there. But yes, that's very layered. Very layered.
And I'm a piggyback right there. It's the same in athletics. It's the same in sports. Because again, when you're thinking about, I got to be the top soldier, I got to be the top athlete, I got to be this, if anybody thinks that there's a crack in the dam, I'm going to, I can't be what I'm supposed to be in this ideological.
I think that's life though. Also it's
right.
if you're the strongest person in your family and everybody depends on you, how dare you crack? So I think it's life.
That is exactly it.
Because I know, especially in the African American community, you have like the, people that are like the matriarchs or the patriarchs that are really strong. And it's like, okay, everybody comes and dumps off on you, but who do you dump off on? So that's just.
And it's a bunch of those people in the military, and the ones that are unhinged or coming undone at the seams, they get out. They're not in. So
and sometimes that's why they go in. Because they've had all this responsibility and it's like, okay, well, I can check out, but then realize, those problems or those issues follow.
Not only or intensify. I've seen a lot. So yes, it's like anything else, whether it's athletics or the military, it is sort of an oxymoron.
Yeah. And it always bothered me. Like, cause I always think the veterans and people, who are even active duty should be like worshipped, in my opinion. I mean, I'm just like, because you're sacrificing so much, being away from your family, dying, the mental health piece of it, like all of there's so much. And it just like, for me being passionate about mental health, I'm like, what can we do? What can we do while you guys are even in? I've spoken at, Patrick Air Force Base and Space Force now. I've spoken there and stuff, but I'm like, it's not enough. Because if let's say I speak at Patrick Space Force Base about mental health, and there's people sitting there that are, active duty, and they go to their superior and say, hey, she says something, I feel like I need help. Everything's going to unravel for them in their career, and they don't want that either.
Which is why we're doing podcasts.
We just keep talking,
we have
keep
these
getting the word out.
platforms. Because here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that when you are doing it for the benefit of society, there's always a way to get your point, and that's what I'm saying. And it's funny that y'all said this, because last night this week, I don't even know where I was, but it was something. And, again, I'm learning to do the TikTok and all that, which sometimes is cracking me up. Still, I think I have 5 friends now, but 6 maybe. Still can't find you. You're on there.
I'm on there too. I can't find myself, so anyway. I'm sorry.
But, and there's always if you're this, then that. If you're this, then that. And I'm like, stop with the causation. Stop labeling people. And it's funny because one of my clients, and God love her, she just went through a pretty big divorce and everything, and she's doing great, and she's amazing, and she's this wonderful person, and everything. We all have our crisis. But even like the language, y'all know I'm a big language. And she goes, yeah, well, because I'm a people pleaser. And I go, no, you're not. Oh, because I go, no, you're not. I go, you're a person. You're a human. Stop labeling yourself. Oh, because no. And that's the thing. Oh, well, because I'm no. And I'm constantly, just going, no, you're not. No, you're not. Why would you say that? What happened? Who told you that? But I think we get in our own heads of, I'm an athlete. I'm a military, military spouse, my culture. I'm the patriarch, the matriarch. It's, okay. And you special? No. You human? Yep. You cry and break just like everybody else? May take a little more. But I think that's the important thing. And we got to just keep putting it out there and stop allowing. We talked, I think, last week when we were talking about, our identities. Your identity is you. You're your own little human. And you can only take care of you as best as you can. But again, we cannot let the fear of man keep us from our destiny. We cannot let anybody else thinks about us guide us. Talk about me when you get home. Capital B.
Well, I want to also ask Alexa too. I know from what Robin told me, you're big in. Are you big in the LGBTQ community, or you're just part of it? Is that?
I don't know what you define as big. I'm a huge part of it. I can tell you that. But I mean, I don't go to Pride or anything, although my wife wants to. But no, we don't party or anything. We don't go to like community. We'll go to like Pride festivals here and there, but I'm not huge in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering.
I should be, but I'm not.
Well, I mean, everyone is different. Everyone, that's their choice. Now my question too is that you said with you being the cultural is a big thing for you and the religion.
Mhm.
So how was that for you?
Fucking shit.
I'm like,
That was horrible. So, here's the way I came out. This should tell you something. My mom's a very, very religious woman, very, very, very Christian woman. And I was 19 years old. And if you can do the math, you can do the math, but I'm not mathing right now. But, I was working at a, non-for-profit medical clinic. And I was going to college, like I was doing like 3 part-time jobs, very busy. And I was 19 years old and I woke up one morning and decided that I'm going to tell my mom I'm gay. I don't know why I thought that. My mom already went to work. She was the nurse at this facility. Back then, you didn't get ID'd the way you get ID'd now. So I went and bought myself 4 40s. That's 4.
Oh my God.
I kid you not. Went back home, packed up all of my bags. I had 2 huge suitcases. Drank 2 out of the 4 40s. Now, mind you, I weighed about 105 pounds at that time. Yeah. Called my mom and said, I need you home. We need to talk. Click. And if you know my mother, she was ready to beat me through the phone. So she thought something was wrong. And there was, obviously. She came, by the time she got home, I was already, inebriated. I was already working on my 4th 40 in like 3 hours. And she came in the door and she says, what's wrong with you? And she says, oh my God, why are you drunk? And are you fucking pregnant? She didn't say fuck, by the way. And I said, no, I'm not pregnant. On the contrary. I'm gay. And I didn't want to break my mom's heart, but something in me was like, you don't feel right faking it. You know what I mean? So I told her, and there was this huge, what felt forever pause. And I was getting up to go grab my suitcase. I don't know where I thought I was going.
You were just like,
You just ready to bail. You thought she was gonna get on the other side of the door.
Yeah. And she said to me, she goes, I really don't like the lifestyle, but you're my daughter and I love you. Now, mind you, this was at 19. I'm 52. That's a really long time ago.
when it was more taboo.
Oh,
Yeah,
hugely. And so that opened up Pandora's box. Now, did I go down that route? No, I ended up marrying a man. I did that. That didn't work for me. I knew it didn't work for me. We separated and then I joined the military, went to college, joined the military, and then I was an equal opportunity lesbian. We came out and did a lot of, equal opportunity. I loved women. I hung out with nothing but guys, right? And there was a bar. It was called Slammers. And it was a 4-day weekend. And it was Penny Sundays. You don't tell military folks that it's Penny Sundays for beer, draft beers.
oh,
So we all took Crown Royal bags full of pennies. The Crown Royal bags.
Yes, the purple bags with the gold.
Oh my gosh.
And we all went to this bar and they would have given it to us for free. Like we brought in a lot of people. So we're having a good old time. We were there super early. So it was hardly anybody there. The later it gets, more people start coming in. We're sitting there dancing and having a good time. And my guy friends used to fuck with me all the time because like, oh, you talk all this shit. You can get any chick and all this stuff. I'm like, I can. And they were like, yeah, right, bullshit. You talk so much shit. I said, okay. So it just so happened that this girl, really pretty girl, walked in with this guy. She was mixed. He was this white guy. He kind of looked like the singer John B.
Oh, yeah.
with the thin, really nice. He was a decent looking guy. And I said, pick any girl. I mean, I was cocky as fuck back then. I thought my shit didn't stink. And I'm like, pick any girl. Whatever. We were all drunk talking shit. And they're like, that one. And I looked, I was like, okay, by the end of the night, I'll have her phone number. And I'm like, whatever. I was like, okay. Sitting there having a good time. We're on the dance floor. She's dancing with her man, and all my guy friends are all black guys, and they're all talking shit about this John B. looking guy, right? Having this really pretty girl, and they're all talking smack on the donor floor.
Donor floor.
We're all sorry,
Freudian
job.
slip.
We're on the dance floor, and at one point, I'll try to condense this a little bit, but on the dance floor, I saw them dancing, and they got a little close to us. And my guy friends were like, oh, are you going to dance with her? And I was like, watch this. So I go over like I'm going to dance on her. Like I made sure she felt my presence, but I didn't touch her. And then I walked, like she thought I was going to dance with her, and and I sat down, and she's just kind of looking around. The guy's getting upset at her because I don't know why. And we sit down. My guy friends are like, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. I'm like, whatever. So they're arguing. The guy and this pretty girl are arguing. They happen to sit next to us, a couple chairs next to us. And at one point, she comes over and sits next to me. Some stuff happens. She sits next to me, and we start talking. And my guy friends are all talking shit. They're all like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay. So a few minutes later, she gets up, and her boyfriend leave, or whatever he was. She told me it was just a friend, whatever. And she leaves. And they're like, oh, you see, you didn't get shit. You didn't get shit after the napkin. I like home phone, work phone, beeper.
That is so
And they were like, the fuck, man? What'd you do? I said nothing.
Listen, but here's the funny thing, you guys. Okay,
I love you, baby. I love you. I didn't do nothing with her.
But I was like, her wife is amazing. But the funny thing is that this is the way our sessions would go. She'd come in, first of all, tell me what I wasn't gonna do. So I'd sit there, or then she'd be like,
Story. Ready for your story?
hold on. She goes, no, there was something you said to me like 3 weeks ago. We need to talk about that. And I'm thinking, what the hell did I say? I'm going, I don't even know. And she goes, no, I'm gonna let you know. So then she'll say this, and she's all whatever. And then it would be 5 minutes, and she would start dropping these stories on me every session. And I'm just going, who are you? Like, funniest damn thing. And I'm just like, oh my God. It's like crazy stuff, y'all, crazy stuff. But that's where I was like, y'all, the best thing is that, talk about oxymoron. I said, she comes in, and it's all, we've always said that, like, oh, underestimate us. So that'll be fun, and it's just, that's why I said, I was like, y'all have to just meet her, because I'm like, you can't not love her, and that's the thing. When we were like unhinged, I go, oh, I got unhinged for y'all, because right here. But even with that, and, and real quick, because I know we're kind of wrapping up, but can we kind of like get to where you're, like what you're doing now? Because this is so beautiful. Like, talk about paying it forward.
Yeah. So, where I'm at now, well, 3 years later, and lots of therapy and lots of talking and crying and yelling and screaming and saying shit doesn't work, shit works. And, I'm at a very good place right now. I was just thinking about you earlier this week, because, still trekking each day is a different day. You still have to deal with life. You still have to deal with crap. And I got so frustrated the other day, and I was just like, what would Robin say?
Hey, get your bracelets right over here.
Yeah.
And get you a knife.
And so, and for me, that's a good thing, because it kind of recalibrates me and say, I have this internal dialogue of, I know what I want to do. I used to be very quick to anger. I was very quick to just shut you down, and I didn't want to hear it. The typical Puerto Rican woman. Okay. But I've learned now to just listen to my wife, and, we're not perfect, but because of coming here, because of staying consistent, because I didn't give up, because I still don't want to give up, even when it gets to the point where I just want to throw my hands up and say, fuck it. I don't, because I am responsible for me first and then the people around me. So I don't want to die. I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to do any of those things. What I want is to be able to breathe normally. I want to be able to say, I've got this and the world is not going to fall apart. It's not my fault. It's okay to feel shameful, but I don't have to be ashamed. You know what I mean?
I like that.
And so,
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel shameful, but I don't have to be ashamed.
exactly.
I love that.
And so,
Because feelings change.
oh, they absolutely did. And I'll tell you, it took me, almost 2 years for me to tell you that I was a survivor and not a victim. Because I went in as a victim very much. And I called myself that. And she didn't prompt me. She didn't say, I just came in one day. At the very end, I said, you know what? I'm a fucking survivor.
Yeah. And you know what? You being a survivor, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, is that you're as tough when I see people that are as tough and like direct and I don't give a shit attitude, there it is the people that have probably the most underlying hard shit that's how you had to cope.
Oh,
All your life.
absolutely.
So you became that strong person that you really needed in your life. You became the strong woman that you needed in your life, really, and needed. That was your survival. So when I see people as like strong and hardcore and like you, I'm like, she has history there. Like there's history. There's a reason why. And not that it's a bad thing because it's who you are. And now you're even more adaptable when shit goes south, right? Because life is going to continue to throw shit at you. It may not be the same that it did when you were a child or a teenager, but there's still going to be things that you're going to have to deal with. And now you know, like, okay, I got past that 20 years ago. I'm going to get past this now.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have been able to do that, because I thought most of us think, well, I can figure it out or I'll figure it out, especially if you're an older person. You just like, I don't want to really burden anybody. I don't want to. But I've learned to ask for help. That's one of those things. And me being here was the huge one for me. And it said one of the questions was, one of the things that would be probably you guys wouldn't believe. I'm an extremely shy person.
Very shy.
Extremely introvert. Like this right here is because I feel safe around you guys. And I want, when I know it may benefit someone, then all that shyness is out the fucking door. But the moment I leave here, I'm like,
Yeah.
But
I get that. I can relate because like I said, even though I'm like doing what I do and I have to talk to people all the time and network and do all that, I prefer to be sitting on my couch and nobody talking to me. Like that's really my life. And you can ask my husband. My husband is the most like, and he'll talk to anybody anywhere. The grocery store, he knows people everywhere. And guess what? I'm like, do you ever shut up?
Nope.
Like, don't do that around me because I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to know who that person is. I don't care about their name. Don't tell me.
I'm extroverted.
See, and
You are? Yes.
see.
oh my God,
I will
no.
talk to a fly as long as it talks back.
Yeah,
Oh
see,
my
that's
God,
my
no.
husband
I do.
too.
See, and it's funny because everybody thinks I am, but that's why I said like we're very similar because, and that's a lot of the neurodivergent. That's a lot of the ADHD. As long as we have a purpose,
Then
all day, because to me it's a purpose and I love giving. But if you just want me to small talk,
Yeah, I don't have to have a purpose.
She just, let
I
me tell
don't.
you
I'm
something.
being real. I don't have to have a purpose.
Let me
I'll
tell you
make a
something.
purpose.
Brandon,
I will
her.
make a
Her.
purpose.
Yep.
Yeah.
She does. Like, and it's funny
Yeah.
because, and I told her, so I said, she always says, oh, Robin brings it out to me. I said, no.
No, you
Hold
bring
on.
out the not good stuff.
No, but she,
Yeah.
I mean, well, say less.
I'm always in the timeout corner with you.
No, it's just because I'm taller. No, but it's just funny because it really is. It's like,
I love it.
You know.
But it's true. Like as soon as I even like met you, and I'm big on like reading energy and discernment and stuff, and I'm like, that woman's got a history. Like you could just tell you come from just a lot of shit, and not all bad, obviously, but you come through
You
shit.
can talk to me like that. I can understand that
Yeah.
talk.
With
But
an unhinged
it's like-
PG-13 today, y'all.
I
We
mean, and the reason why you have that hard exterior is because that's who you've had to be in order to survive. And I'm glad that Robin has been able to kind of break that down. And then you have a good support system like your wife has been able to help
My
you. Because
family, yep.
that's what I'm saying. Like you had to, and I think that's big to like, for other people to like listen to, like
That in itself, because of the brokenness, if I didn't have that support, I wouldn't, nothing negative against Dr. McCormick, but I only had her for an hour.
Right.
So what happens to the other 23 hours? If you don't have that support at home, then everything you work on, you can't put into use. Or if you have somebody who's negative or who's just, that shit doesn't work, it does work. And don't listen to people that's telling you it doesn't work, because that is just a stigma. It really is. And I was the one that used to say, I'm going to go to talk to somebody about my problems. Hell no. But the moment I trusted someone and they weren't there to hurt me in any way or take my information and use it against me somehow, because that's how I thought, right? And so when you find that comfort, you need to covet that and harness it, because you don't get that a lot in this world. People who really give a shit, people like you guys who give a shit, like really give a shit. And as a patient who really wants to work on things, we can read energy, we can feel it. You know, I know when somebody wants to work with me, you know, she cried with me, she laughed with me, she did all those things with me. And that shows me like, fuck, she gives a fuck and she understands me. I didn't have to say hardly anything in sessions sometimes. And she knew. I was like, I'm not going to tell her she knows, because I don't need her to be like, you're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's one of her favorite lines.
that is.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I'm like, I didn't even say thank you. Hello.
I know.
You're
No,
welcome.
thank you.
But that's what I'm saying. It really was. And I think even when you say that is where the therapist and even on a business side, and, you know, we've been grinding. Like there's always something we're all just like, Lord, you know, enough of the labor pains already. Show me the baby, you know, because, and that is such a blessing, I think, to us. And why even when, you know, and I was telling Ellen and TJ, I said, you know, as soon as like we started talking about the podcast or anything, and, you know, she was like, sign me up. What is it? Where are we going? What's happening? Like, you know, y'all deserve it. And even if we just look at females, you know, strong females, you know, I say iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it does really take, I think, somebody, you know, I always say when you are living that authentic life, you know, that being a person of excellence, doing the extra mile, not because of any monetary, it's never about you. It's always about somebody else, you know, and that creates that space for people to be vulnerable
Absolutely.
with you, you know, and then that's the connections. And then that's the, you know, and I remember, you know, when you came the first time when you said, I was able to stand up for myself and it was okay no matter how anybody else responded. And I was like, girl, you need like say less. I mean, because that's really, I think, the biggest thing, especially is that when we don't know how to navigate or really what we're feeling or why we're feeling it, or are we allowed to feel it? How in the world are we supposed to communicate that to somebody? And the last thing we want to do is hurt our loved ones, but we're hurting so bad, you know, and then when we finally go, you know, weakness is not wickedness, like, but they don't know either, you know?
Well, because hurt people hurt people,
Right.
you know?
Well, this has been amazing.
Thank
Alexa,
you.
you've been such an amazing
You're
guest.
welcome. You're welcome.
See?
Yes.
There you go.
Listen.
I'm thanking Alexa
Yes.
here.
Thank you, guys.
And it was exciting to just listen to your story of, you know, healing and what you, vulnerability is.
I know
key.
we need to hear more of that
Yes.
and like to share your story
Mhm.
and to like what therapy has done for you
Mhm.
and like all of that is just amazing.
Yeah.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate being
guys.
here, and we're hoping we know that you're gonna help some of our listeners out there.
Absolutely.
Go to therapy
Absolutely.
and
I
be a
hope
bad
so.
bitch.
I hope so.
Love
Thank you
it.
guys for having me. I
Of course.
appreciate it. I
Yes.
love you guys
Yes.
all. No homo.
Wait, y'all got to get her one of these.
Bye.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.